And welcome to It's All Connected by Her Castle Girls, a podcast about fashion, lifestyle, and the business around it. My name is Garcia.
And my name is Telly.
And we are the Her Castle Girls.
Yes.
So what you got to do is you got to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's it.
We're growing a little family here of fashion geeks. And follow us on Instagram at Her Castle Girls. Same for TikTok, Pinterest, and all of those lovely, things.
Yeah, those lovely spaces.
Yes, those lovely
social media spaces.
Social medias.
Yes.
We have a very interesting topic today. And today we are talking about the Apple documentary, The Supermodels. If you haven't heard about it already, you should go ahead and watch it. Form your own opinion, because this is what we want at the end of the day. Everyone should have their own opinion.
Right.
But we are going to talk about this documentary. It's a 4-part documentary, and this doc gives us kind of a look at the popular supermodels that made it a thing to be in fashion. We're talking about Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, and Christy Turtleton. And I'll start here.
Sure.
We grew up as kids watching these, at the time, girls.
Yeah.
We can't even call them women. Now, of course, we didn't know. I think as kids, you don't realize that models are actually also, for the most part, children.
Yeah, they're maybe 15, 16 in their teen years. You pile enough makeup on any young adult and they go from looking like a kid to a grown woman. And they did. I mean, a lot of them were scouted when they were 15, 16, 17. I can't remember all of their ages, but I believe Cindy Crawford said that she really started when she was 17 or something.
Yeah, which probably some people would say that's late.
Yeah, because as we know, there's a lot of oh my goodness, there's lots of kids getting drafted in the modeling industry, and they're 12, but they just happen to be really thin, really tall, and they fit that bill, and they're taken into the the showrooms of the world, and they get to try on different cool things. They're walking runways of Milan, and you're 13. It's an amazing experience for anyone to experience. Imagine. Yeah, that's amazing. And scary and amazing.
Right. And I do feel that's why this documentary was made, because it was a very unique time in history.
Yeah.
And this documentary, it all begins really in 1983, where 4 teenagers from totally different parts of the world. We have 3 of them that are U.S. based, or one that was Canadian, 2 U.S.
and
then one in England.
Yeah,
and they were on different spectrums in their life, different families, different everything. And the world of fashion brought them together and really made them a powerhouse that up to this day, they are still out here.
They're still working like it's day one. Naomi Campbell just finished Fashion Month and she walked more runways this season
than she walked when she was 21.
This woman, and let me tell you, she can walk.
Girl. The gift is gifting.
She is amazing. And that's the cool thing too, Car, with all of them. They all have these amazing stories.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how we're going to break this down, because I know that it's a lot to
There's a lot to talk about.
So maybe we'll just briefly, I guess, maybe go through each girl. At least that way,
we
touch on all of them. That way we don't miss anything. So I guess we're going to start with, let's see, who's up here? Okay, Naomi, you're up.
So, yeah, we started with her, so let's continue.
Let's continue, yeah.
So, Naomi Campbell is one that let's talk about, because truly Naomi Campbell's story is one that is also one that is historic. And the reason why it's historic is because out of the 4 supermodels, and let's say it here, they are not the only supermodels. We know that there's a list of about 50 supermodels.
I believe that Harper Bazaar, after Vogue put out, their cover, and of course Apple documentary, I think it was Harper Bazaar that went out and put, also took the models from there,
right?
As well as Claudia Schiffer, Kate Moss,
Iman
Johnson, they brought Twiggy, like every
Stephanie
model.
Seymour, like all of the models that we know are supermodels, but there is a specific reason why it's these 4, and it's based upon a pop culture event that happened as to why these 4 were in the documentary, even though it has been heard that many other models were sort of asked to be in it, and some just weren't comfortable with it. Some of them are done with the spotlight.
I think
which
Helena
is fine.
Christensen, I think she was one that made it very vocal that she
she loves to be out here in photos, and she lives a very quiet life.
She does.
And I don't think she was ready to be like, let's go do a press tour. You know what I mean?
Not exactly.
Yeah. So
yes, that's Naomi.
Yes. Naomi Campbell. London town girl.
London girl. The London Jamaica girl.
Yeah, the London Jamaican girl.
Yes.
She is one of the models, I think, that we, as Black women, we identify with her because she broke a lot of barriers.
She did.
She was able to do a lot of things that the Black models before her couldn't do. And that was getting on the cover of Vogue magazine as a Black woman, wearing and walking the runways where Black women were never really walking the runways for these types of designers.
Right.
And really breaking that European gate that was really like, unless you fit this mold, you're not joining the club. And Naomi was able to do the thing. She was able to show up in the spaces where we thought we would never see women that look like us.
Yeah, it's so funny with Naomi because, the women before her, as we mentioned Iman and we mentioned Beverly Johnson, and oh my goodness, the list goes on for Black models in the industry. It's always been like an uphill battle.
Yes.
And some would say that, it's just now that, Black models are getting a break. It's still an uphill battle. I feel that it will be one that will always be a battle. But knowing that every day you're getting a little bit, there's a little bit more room for Black girls to showcase and be in the same club as everyone else, it's refreshing to see. And Naomi is definitely one of those girls who didn't keep quiet. She made it known that, hey, I'm just as good as my friends. And the cool thing with her friends, who happened to be Cindy, Linda, and Christy, they were allies.
Yes.
They were like, listen, if she doesn't walk, we're not walking either. Like they stood up. It was a unit.
Yeah. And I loved the unity there. I loved seeing that, this idea that you're going to invite her to walk just like how we're gonna walk, because she's a better walker than me.
Yeah, they said those.
Yeah, she is more sultry than me. She poses for this photo better than I do. Why is she not here?
Right.
And it was lovely to see that early on. This is before we started teaching DE&I. This is before, we just had women that looked at someone and said, you're my friend. And not only are you my friend, but you're talented and you should be here too. And I love that she was included.
She was included
as a supermodel. And she, again, broke barriers. Now, another thing about Naomi's story is she dealt with a lot. And I want to talk about this idea. And I think a lot of models that are young in the industry go through this, which is sort of that abandonment. Because of the job. Naomi couldn't be with her mom, probably at the times when she needed her mom most.
Oh, definitely. I think she was, once again, she's a teenager, flying to Paris, flying to Rome,
flying to New York.
Yeah. And New York in itself is a gorgeous city, but if you're not, New York will beat you up.
It's a hard city.
It's a hard city. It ain't easy. It ain't cheap either. But I agree with you, Car. You know, she had to pretty much raise herself. And thankfully, okay, well, spoiler alerts. If you guys don't want to know what's going on, then cover your ears. But because there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this, so I apologize in advance. I won't say the name. Luckily, she met people that were able to help her to grow to be the woman that she is today.
Yes.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she could have been otherwise minded. There's a lot, and we'll get into it, if not in this podcast, in another one, Car, but there's a lot of sharks in the modeling industry. And all they want to see is a young, you know, impressionable girl, new to the city, new to the game. They don't know much. All they know is, oh, well, you seem kind, you seem nice, so I trust you, but you deep down, you're like, should I trust this person? And they're selling the game that you can. So sadly you do, and things go a different way, which is really, really sad. But thankfully for Naomi, for the most part, she always made sure she followed her intuition. And because of that, she was taken care of by the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. She was taken care of by the right people. But even then, you know, Naomi did fall into times where, you know, I think whenever you take a kid and put them in the world of adulthood, and you do it too early,
it's a rough transition.
It's a rough transition. And I think it causes some, and I don't know what word to use, it can cause some complications.
Oh, definitely.
You've got a kid that's making more money than most adults. Right. And then on top of that, they're expected to get on a plane by themselves, fly to these foreign countries, pose in ways that might seem vulnerable, and, you know, and behave like they're a grown woman, a grown adult.
Yeah.
And then you have these adults that are around them that are like smoking and drinking and living their adult life.
Yeah. Yep. And they're looking at you like, why aren't you living your adult life?
Right. And you pick up these habits. And, you know, the documentary does touch on addiction. And it's no secret that Naomi definitely had her issues with addiction. But what I do love about her story is that she found her way to herself.
She did. She found her way back home, which was refreshing, because unfortunately, I mean, it's in every industry, but because we're dealing with modeling, it's like acting. Like, you know, when you go to award ceremonies, you're usually up all night, because after the party, there's the after party, and after the after party, there's the after party. And pretty much you're partying all day, all night. And not to say that models just party, they don't, they work. But you're living in a world where it's nonstop. When all you want to do is take a nap, you're kind of finding it difficult too, because you're on a plane going to a place that's like a totally different, like, time zone, different food, different people. People are primping you and promming you and pulling your hair and putting you in outfits that don't fit and yelling at you because the outfits don't fit. And there's so much, like, you know, stuff going on. You just want to kind of shut those noises out and numb the pain. So unfortunately, a lot of women just say, or not, I shouldn't say women, because men are models as well. A lot of them just say, you know what, I can't. I need something that's just gonna shut me up,
numb it all,
numb the pain, and numb the crap that I'm feeling right now. But I'm so glad that Naomi was one to live to tell, because then you have models like Gia, who unfortunately did not live to tell. And I can only imagine there's
so many sad stories when it comes to modeling and
an addiction.
But
Naomi was one of them. So much to the point where she even got Marc Jacobs to go to
I like love that. Yeah, she has become a mama bear.
She is a definite
and
mama
she's
bear.
there for the newer models of today. She's out here really showing herself.
Yeah, she's not hiding anymore.
Yeah, and I think that another piece of this that I loved about this documentary was kind of showing us all that, as specifically as women, we can be so okay with aging.
We really can.
Aging is okay. It's okay to be out here and be like, look, I'm 55.
That's fine.
And I'm out here. I love that message. It wasn't like it was super, super strong.
Right.
But it was beautiful to see the faces of Naomi, Cindy, Linda, and Christy, like seeing how they've grown.
Right? There's an evolution. You see when
and
faces when they were young, and then you see them mature.
And the acceptance.
And it's refreshing.
Yeah, the acceptance of themselves. Which we don't get to see a lot of. What we do see a lot of is women saying, I need to do this. I should do this. I should do that to look better because I look old.
And then they say they look old. There's like, you're like 30. Like, calm down.
And right, but society has taught us that 30, that's it. You're on your way down. And
funny you mentioned that, because even in the documentary, I can't remember if it was Christy, Cindy, or Linda, but one of them said, that someone, I think it was a photographer, someone told them when they were approaching 30, they're saying to them, you're getting up there, you're turning 30. Do you have anything you're going to fall back on? And, it kind of took them aback, because it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, do I? And it's like, now, today, you have models that are beyond older than Naomi.
We've got 89-year-old models now.
Looking fierce, fabulous, owning that runway.
Yeah. And I'm also happy that they are here to see the evolution that modeling has taken as well, because they were told that they wouldn't be modeling past 30.
Yeah.
And we have Naomi, who's been walking more catwalks now than she walked when she was 21.
Her life. This woman is working.
Old.
And she's really doing a lot of, I can't remember the word, philanthropy.
Philanthropy.
Thanks, girl.
She's doing a lot of charity work.
She's doing a lot of charity work. That word, she's doing a lot of that. A lot of charity work, yes. Especially, in the motherland of Africa. She's helping young designers to be discovered. It's really cool seeing her use, young Black designers and, pushing them into the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
She's not selfish. She's like, I'm up here on this mountain. Everyone that I can help, I'm helping them up here, because everyone deserves to have a chance to showcase their talent, their art, who they are. And she's a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
She's always been like my girl. Listen, even when Naomi was throwing cell phones, I was like, I don't care what anybody says. She's going through a thing. She's going through it. Top,
exactly. And she did that.
Sometimes you gotta throw a cell phone. Just don't throw it at people.
Yeah, and I think it also teaches us too, with Naomi's story, that we have to allow growth.
We do. You have to allow growth
and be patient
grace.
To see that person go through it.
Yeah, allow yourself, and people need to allow people to go through those trials and tribulations. What's the saying? In order to go to it, you got to go through it. Which is messy. It's annoying.
It's not fun. It's not pretty.
It's not, but it's the only way to get to the other side.
That's it.
Naomi did that. She got to the other side. She's
totally
a mama,
did.
And she's like a literal mama. She has like 2
she's got 2 children. She's working.
She's a gorgeous resort thing in Africa.
Right. And she's just become a person that you look at and you say, wow, if my life journey can be as
amazing as that, why not?
I love it.
Naomi is a star.
She is a star.
Speaking of stars, we're just going to go on down to Miss Cindy Crawford. Yeah. Even Prince had a song called Cindy. Cindy Crawford. I used to know it off by heart, and now for the life of me, I can't remember. But it's actually a really good song. Cindy C. Yeah. Yes. Cindy C.
Yes, I actually.
It's a good track.
I do remember the song.
Good track.
Yes. Cindy C was out here.
She was like the Naomi was like the body, and then like Cindy, I like to think of her as like the brand.
Yeah,
like she was a business.
Yes, and Cindy Crawford, actually, she is, to me, if there was no Cindy Crawford, there would be no format of what a model is now.
Yes,
Cindy is sort of like the prophet of what the model would become. Because we have to remember, before this group of women that we consider supermodels, models didn't say anything.
No, they were mannequins.
They showed up, they stood there. They were fitted. They would walk when they need to walk. They would get their hair done. They wouldn't say a word. They would chop their hair off. They wouldn't say a word. They would go home, and no one knew their name. No one especially didn't care where they were going or what they were wearing off duty.
No.
Cindy Crawford was the first model to kind of cross over and be like, oh, I'm going to do a commercial where I have to act.
Yeah, she did a whole movie where she had to act.
Yeah.
She had
like a personality. Yeah.
Did the whole Playboy thing.
Right.
And she became like a brand.
Yeah.
Her own Lazy Boy sofa.
Right.
Like
she has her own
Cindy
furniture.
Holmes.
Yeah. Like her name.
It's like Cindy Inc.
Yes. It's Cindy
Incorporated.
Inc. She's incorporated.
She's incorporated. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties. I plugged out the laptop.
Okay.
I'm apologizing to y'all.
So,
but yes, sorry, back to Cindy's in her business.
So Cindy was one of the first models to really kind of bring a Hollywood aspect to being a fashion model. And she didn't, it came to a point where she didn't have to depend on walking the runway.
Yeah. She was like, yo, I if I want to, for a friend, for a friend of John Galliano.
Yeah,
for a friend, Marc Jacob or whatever, sure. But otherwise, the ball was literally in her court.
Yeah, she was a business woman. I would say that model, that Cindy was the business.
Yeah. Her whole Revlon commercial and all that.
Yeah, she really was a person, and the whole MTV show.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
The thing is,
Pepsi and all this.
Most models weren't even. They didn't talk, and most models were super shy.
Yeah.
But then you have Cindy Crawford who shows up and says, "Yeah, I'm totally gonna host this show, and talk with celebrities and rock stars. I'm gonna even marry an actor." Like,
yeah.
And again, very young. One thing, speaking of young, is, and I know that this is kind of, I know for her and for Linda Evangelista, getting married young.
Ooh, yeah.
And if you ever, for me, the documentary did a great job of kind of outlining children, because 22 is very young. I know it doesn't, for those out there that are 25, you're like, 22 isn't young. 22, you're an adult. Yes, on paper, yes, indeed, you are an adult. But trust and believe, once you get to 35, 40, 45, you're going to look back and say,
I was a kid.
45 is young.
Meaning that 22, you're pretty much a baby.
So 22, you're like, oh, dude.
You're still learning. It's like a kid that graduates from high school and they're going to university or college. They're like 19, 18, 21, 22, what have you. They know nothing. And on top of that, you had them living in New York. Like, I think for Cindy, she had her own apartment, and she said, look, she couldn't just call home to get to ask for rent.
She had to figure it out.
She had to figure it out. You had, I think it was Cindy and Christy. I think that they lived together.
Yeah.
And they had to just rough it out.
Yeah. And I believe there was a part in the documentary, I believe, where Cindy and Naomi even lived together for some time.
Yeah.
Because they needed each other, because they were all kids.
They're all kids. They didn't know anything.
They didn't know any better. Even if they had boyfriends as teenagers, they weren't having no whole husbands.
No.
They were learning about love and life while being in this very adult world and marrying men that were extremely older than them.
Much older than them. Much older. And, therefore, it's like two different worlds. It's like, aside from the physical attraction, it's like, well, you got to talk to the person.
Well, and that's what Cindy Crawford did a great job of explaining. She says in the documentary, she was like, when you're 22, you're walking around and you're like, do you like baseball? I like baseball. We should be together. And that was the mentality that she had at the time. And I think that she did a lot of learning through her career. This idea, Pepsi was like, we need Cindy Crawford. And Cindy, up to this day, that commercial is iconic.
I think she did it over again.
Yes.
For I think it was last year's Super Bowl or the
Yeah.
year before.
Yeah.
Because it was just this iconic commercial.
Yeah.
And she just had, the big bouncy hair and the little cute jean shorts.
Yeah, the little
and the white
shorts.
tank top.
Yeah.
Popping style out of the car.
Yeah.
And getting her peps in, popping it.
Right. And just being, this
gorgeous
lady.
A gorgeous lady. I'm here for it.
It's like, okay, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
And yeah, I loved her addition to it all because she was the one that, and some would say, oh, like she kind of lost her fashion card, but not really.
So.
Because now, when you look at the models now, they're all doing what Cindy did.
All of them. They all have different brand deals. They all have furniture. They all have furniture deals.
It's a template. Lines. They should call it the Cindy Crawford template.
They really should.
It's like, don't just own the runway, but own those brands. Own your own brands.
Especially these days, ladies. We'll get into that. But yeah, Cindy was definitely, one of the many people that like took even Beverly Johnson,
yes,
with her starting hairline and stuff like that,
right?
Like starting your own business.
I'm on with her makeup line.
Starting your business before the modeling, walking the runways,
right,
and stuff like that goes to bed,
right?
And Cindy is definitely one of those people that brought that. So we'll talk about that because now it's like if you don't have that, no one knows you.
Because again, modeling today is such a different industry.
Totally different.
We will make time to talk about that quickly. We're going to move on to Miss Linda Evangelista. Can I say that, and I love all of these girls, but Linda Evangelista really had something, and that's what I love about them all. They were all here at the same time, but they were all so different.
They all had different looks, different personalities, and that's what made them all stand out.
Like Linda Evangelista had this whole.
She was like pre-Coco Rocha.
Yeah,
like if Coco Rocha was her kid, it wouldn't shock me.
Right,
like that makes sense.
The eyes,
the face, the stature,
and just the way how she would, the way she would pose was just very revolutionary.
Yeah.
She was very much an artist, and they're all artists, of course, in their own way. But I really do see Linda Evangelista as the one that was never afraid to just really change her look and, kind of gender bending.
Yeah, the androgynous
looks. And she really played with all of that. And it made her like a full-on like model artist.
Yeah, definitely. It was like a painter. Or someone with clay and molding, and wherever you position you mold the clay into, it stays. That was Linda. She would just put her body in different positions, and if anyone else did it, it would look weird. But when she did it, it looked like art.
Yeah,
it looked beautiful.
Like we had Naomi, who that walk was like killer. She owned the runway.
She owns the runway.
Then we had Cindy, who owned the business, and then Linda owned the photograph.
Oh yeah.
She just photographed so well.
Even like, test shots just to make sure the camera was in focus. She looked incredible.
Yes.
All the time. And this is coming from a woman because when sharing her story, she thought that she wasn't pretty at all.
Right.
She thought that she was on the uglier side.
She thought she was ugly.
What?
Yeah. And that just goes to show that's just, a problem in life that women go through where
we all have those moments.
We feel we're not beautiful.
Yeah.
Everybody can tell you. You can win awards saying you are the most beautiful person in the world, and you still won't believe it. Right? That's an issue that we have as women. Sneezing.
It's okay.
The one thing with Linda is we growing up and watching her, of course, we had no idea what was going on in her life.
Girl, it was,
she married young. She married her agent, which we now know from listening and hearing all about these stories that we hear from women who are musicians, women that are actors.
Yeah.
Don't marry your agent.
please, whatever you do,
don't marry your manager. Just don't do it.
Don't. Wow.
And
my fan agrees.
Yeah. And Linda then, you know, going through an abusive relationship, we learn that, you know, while we were watching her and thinking that she was doing the most in the most beautiful, glamorous industry in the world,
right,
she was suffering with illness as well.
And I did not know.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it hardcore.
You gotta watch it.
Because you gotta watch it.
Wow.
But
wow.
This idea where she was dealing with a lot emotionally due to sickness, due to, you know, getting out of an abusive relationship. There was a lot going on with her. And then later on in life, we all know what happened with the cool sculpting incident that made her, I think it really messed with her mentality and her self-worth.
Yeah.
Because here's a woman that has made every single dollar she's ever made has been made because of her beauty. And then one mishap takes, in her mind, her beauty away.
In her mind. Oh boy.
And I think that this is a story that all women need to see, hear, and digest.
Right. It's, you know, Cara, it's interesting because listening and remembering, you know, the things that she was going through, it's like, how much can one person literally take? You know, being in an abusive relationship, being ill, and then having this accident happen, leaving your moneymaker. Her body is her moneymaker. And now, you know, at the time she thought, oh my goodness, this is it. What have I done? I'm finished. It's some things happen in life and you're just like, this person didn't deserve it. Like, come on.
Right, exactly.
But what I love with Linda is, first of all, I love her speaking voice.
Yeah,
she's so high pitched.
Her speaking voice.
She's so like sincere. She reminds me of like a cute little kid. Like
she's sweet,
super sweet, and you're just kind of, your heart really breaks for her. And she still smiles. She's still going, you know, doing this documentary. She's still sharing her story,
and she's so loved,
you know. And she doesn't care what, you know, how she looks. Well, she cares how she looks. But seeing how, you know, Naomi, Christy, and Cindy embrace her as if like, you don't care, because they don't, because they know who she is, and the world embraces her as well.
And when you look at the pictures that have been taken for Vogue and all of the promotions they've done for this documentary, you look at her and you're like,
you would never think
you're still beautiful.
You would never think that anything was wrong with her.
Beautiful.
She looks stunning.
And what I love is that she has that courage to share her story.
Yeah.
She is doing a lot of talks all over to share her story and talk more about the industry. And I think we need that. I think we need
definitely
to hear her voice sharing her story, because it's going to help people.
It's going to help people. And, you know, I loved the part in the doc when Mr. Kim Jones and Marc Jacobs, they were doing a collaboration, and they were like, yeah, we have to use her.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, first, like, why would you want to use me? I'm this, I'm that. And they're like, no, what do you mean? Like, you're Linda Evangelista. Like, Linda. Listen, Linda.
Listen, Linda.
Listen, Linda.
Listen, Linda.
Linda is that woman who's she's bold, she's brazen. I remember when, you know, when
she's Canadian.
She's Canadian, hence why she's so bold. I remember when, you know, she cut her hair, and at first she was like, what have you done? Like, she was upset, clearly, because no woman that has that amount of hair she had, she was like, why did
no one wants to.
But that was her skyrocket. Like she did that.
It was a moment.
Was it.
It was a moment.
Nothing but up,
because
for
her face is so.
It's so hard
because her face is her face. It's like, why do you even need hair?
You don't even need hair. The hair is like blocking all.
The hair is in the way.
Just move it back, Linda. And the cool thing with Linda, I remember when. And it's so funny. I hate reminding her of this. And even she brought up, because it's such a famous line, but when she said that
I know
she only gets out of bed for 10 grand. I'm like, well, the woman knows her worth. I wish
Awesome.
more women, I wish more women would say, wait a minute, I'm worth it. And she knew what she was worth.
Yes, she did.
So I'm not mad at it. I'm not.
Not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it.
And I'm
She
like
knew her
you,
worth.
girl, I'm like you. I'm like, why aren't we admitting what we're worth?
You are worth something.
Why?
You're worth it.
You're worth it. And she was definitely one that knew that. And yes, you can say that she was confident and too boastful. But to be honest, this is the sort of persona that women need to take on.
It is. But as we know, as soon as a woman says something that's more seen as a masculine statement, all of a sudden it's deemed bad, which was a shame, because it's like, okay, like, if that male model, what's his name, Fabio, if he said it,
oh, it would have been fine.
It's fine, it's Fabio, he's worth it. But because a woman says it, oh, how dare you, you're so cocky and you're spoiled and this and that. But you know what? Linda is a woman that is just amazing. She is stunning. And I'm glad that she's still doing the thing. She's not letting this hold her back anymore.
Yeah, I do love that acceptance. And it's like, you know what? Maybe I had this bad experience, but I'm going to take this experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to share it. I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to help someone. And I know for any woman that's been through some altering, thing, whether it be mentally, physically, this story will inspire you. I know for someone like myself, I'm alopecian.
Right.
So having lost, thank you.
Her head is
having lost, something that you consider a part of your beauty.
Right.
It's like, wow, I needed to hear this from someone like her. And bless her for sharing her story, because that is not an easy one to share.
It isn't. So, God bless her. She's a gem.
She's awesome.
And last but certainly not least, Christy
Turtleton.
What a name, eh?
I know, Christy, and that's the other thing too. The names, like, I'm sorry,
names are just names. What the flip?
How
are your parents even so cool to give you like these cool names?
So I know Linda's is
Evangelista.
I
forget. Oh, she did say what her background is. No, I can't remember.
But Christy, I would say Christy is the girl next door.
She is the girl next door.
Of course, she's gorgeous and
she's like a beautiful natural beauty.
Just very, and I love her persona she seems so youthful.
Mm-hmm.
And
she does.
There's something about, they've all aged incredibly well.
Yeah.
But there's something about her aged look where I was just like,
she looks
like angelic.
Yes. And regal.
Yes.
And it's funny, like, she embraces who she is. She's not trying to get like Botox or this or that.
Yeah.
She's just like, yo, this is me. And she's just stunning.
Yeah. And
just stunning.
One thing with her that, again, she picked up on something that now is a normal part of life, which she started getting into wellness very early on in her career, when she still could have been modeling for Calvin Klein. She was taking on wellness and yoga and doing these things before it became what it is now, which is now everyone is doing yoga. Everyone is doing Pilates. Everyone has a wellness routine.
Yeah.
She started doing it when people were like, why are you a hippie?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. She saw the future. She saw the future and she was like, I'm keeping fit.
Yeah. I loved her story. I loved how, like Cindy, she was like,
her endorsement deals, she had a lot. She had
remember they tried to keep her with Calvin Klein for like 25 years,
which I think is ridiculous.
For very little money.
Contract I've ever heard. For very little money.
Yeah.
Once again,
the images were beautiful.
Yes.
But
the deal was crud.
Yeah, and she has a very balanced way about herself. And I really do believe it's because of the wellness that she picked up on early in her career.
I agree.
She just seems sweet.
Yeah.
And when you say the word regal, you're so right. She
Yeah.
is definitely, she walks, and even now when, you know, they show them in present day modeling, and you just look at her and you're like, God, she could still put her on the cover of everything.
Honestly,
like, what?
She's just such a, yeah, I agree with you, Carla. There's just something about her that is just, I don't know. It's weird. There's just some people you look at and you're like, this thing I really, really, really like about you.
Yeah.
Like, you know that if you were to sit with them on a plane ride somewhere, you know that it will be a really good conversation. You'll feel uplifted after talking to them, or you feel good in their presence. Seeing Christy, you feel that way. And she's just such a cool person. And I love how she took control of her life with the whole Calvin Klein thing. You know, she was like, I'm not staying with this. I gotta get out of this ridiculous contract because this is silly. Most people, they would say, okay, I'm gonna stick with Calvin Klein because what if I leave and things go AWOL, and then what other people drop me? What if other brands don't want to work with me because they'll say I'm, difficult? Like it was with Naomi Campbell with John Calabasas.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to get her a deal. And when she heard how much the contract was for, she was like, okay, I'm sorry, I can get more money for that in another country. Why would I stay with this long-term deal for a small amount of money? And just because she rejected that one deal, he deemed her as difficult. Now, how many women have heard that?
Yeah, and
you're difficult because
and that's the thing.
Want something, you don't want what I'm offering you,
right? And especially back then. I mean, we're having this problem now.
Oh, girl, yeah, we're having
back then. It was a thing like, how dare you just not take what you're given as a woman? Do you realize that you're lucky to be here? That's basically the narrative that was going on at those times. So if someone was going to give you $100, you can't negotiate. You're taking $100.
And you're working day and night, night and day. That's it. End of discussion. And if you say no, we're going to deem you as difficult. You talk back, although you didn't say anything. All you said was, I don't want that deal. But we're going to put every bit of drama on you just so you can look like a fool in these streets and get dropped by other brands that want to work with you. But Naomi didn't stop there.
No, she didn't. And she just moved on to another agency and continued to do her thing. Modeling, at the root of it, is entrepreneurship.
It is.
And these women took hold of their careers. They said no to the crummy deals. They said, yes, we want to do that music video, George Michael.
Freedom.
And that is what sort of cemented their legacy in 1990s culture, appearing in that music video and sort of just showing, this is what a supermodel is. This is what defines it. And that song is forever now cemented as fashion.
It's like their theme song.
Soundtrack. Yes.
Right? That and like Obsession by that one band.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great song.
Synthesizer heaven.
Yeah. So
yes.
If these women if these women didn't own their careers,
we wouldn't be talking about them. That's for sure.
We obviously wouldn't be talking about them. But I do want to take the few minutes to talk about how modeling has changed since the 90s. And it's changed.
It's changed drastically.
We can thank social media.
Funny you mentioned that, Car, because your smile. We can thank social media. It's true. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I was listening to another podcast and they were speaking with, oh, Jesus, help me now. An agent.
Who is this person?
No, there was no name. Well, he did say his name, but it's okay. I was listening to it on The Business of Fashion. That's it.
Okay, a modeling agent?
Yes, he's a modeling agent, a scout.
Okay.
And he was saying that these days, and I think they were talking about it because of the supermodels and how things were back then. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, he's a young guy, so he wasn't, he was a baby when these lovely women were doing their thing. Mm-hmm. But he was saying that now it's changed so much.
Completely.
He was saying that it's a yin and yang. Like he said, these days, depending, it can be easier to get into the modeling industry. But he said, but the women of back then, he said to him, have more longevity.
Right.
And we see that.
We see that because they're 55 years old and
they're still here. It will be interesting to see the younger models of today, how, the years that are between them now. It will be interesting to see how Gigi Hadid and how Kendall Jenner, how will it go
here
when
is
they
the
hit
issue.
40, 50, 60?
Here's the issue too. And we've discussed this.
Yeah.
The modeling world has changed, social media, but also where are our models coming from? Because
they're nepos.
Listen, Cindy, Naomi, Christy, and Linda, Iman, Beverly Johnson, Twiggy, all of these models from back in the day.
Right.
They came from very, very humble beginnings. Poor to middle class families,
right? And they were, they got scouted. Like Kate Moss, I think
they were working. They were working at Tim Hortons,
right,
or Starbucks, and that's where they were discovered.
Yeah. Nowadays, he said it. He said, nowadays you have to have a following.
There's no discovery anymore.
Your portfolio is your either Instagram account or your TikTok or a YouTube channel, something.
Yeah.
And you have to have a following.
Right.
They want to see more than just a following of 20 people. It's like, do you have 3,000 followers or however amount?
And do you have the pictures that show
that you have that sass to be a model?
Right.
Do you have like anything that you're selling on your own? Because a lot of brands, let's use Nike for an example. Nike wants to, showcase their latest shoe. And they're like, okay, we need someone that's we need someone that's fresh, that's, in right now. Let's hit up Instagram or let's hit up TikTok and let's see, some sneakerheads. Let's see what's going on with them. You might have a great, shoe collection. You may have a good following. But for every one of you, there's like a gazillion people that are doing the same thing, showcasing their shoe collection, doing the thing, showcasing it like this is the shoe, this is the tongue, this is what the colorways. Fine. But they're looking at who is interacting with you.
Yeah.
What do the comments say? How many followers? Okay, I can't stress enough. How many followers? Yeah,
they need to see the followers.
And what do you, are you showing you? Because there's a lot of accounts that just show a shoe in the description and that's it. But they want someone because they want to market that person because it's at the end of the day, it's about money.
It's a business. It is a business.
The business is about money. They need to get paid. And these days, actually, it's even harder now for Nepo babies like Gigi Hadid or Bella or, Kendall, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take away from what they do. Go ahead, girls, get your money. But I'm also saying that everyone is at stake because a video you showed me not too long ago, we got something called AI.
Yeah.
We don't have to pay anybody.
Right. People are literally a person that's not real that can work 24/7.
They won't talk back. Right. They're on time.
Right.
They don't steal stuff from the
They won't talk badly about their agent when they're not working.
So many factors.
That's another factor of modeling that is going to become bigger as we go through time.
Oh yeah.
And then you mentioned, the whole Nepo baby thing. Let's admit it, the biggest models right now have famous mothers,
that were
fathers,
models.
or aunts or uncles.
That were in the industry.
Gigi and Bella, yes, they are beautiful, but we know why they're there. They weren't discovered like Carly Kloss.
No.
Right? And Carly Kloss isn't that much older than them. She's only like 31 years old, 32 years old. Coca Rocha, they were discovered.
And that's the thing too.
These girls are discovered. They are just, they are on reality shows. So of course they have tens of thousands of millions of followers. So going up to, Kendall and saying, "Do you want to model?" It's like, well, yeah, because I'm famous.
She's already like 5'11" and she's already famous. So right there, and she has a following. So whatever you have her model, people will buy it because they know her as an influencer already. Right. And then you have people like Coco Rocha.
Yeah.
Or people like, Carly
Kloss,
who were discovered the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, they were at Wonderland or something,
exactly.
Or Disney, and
you're minding your own
like,
business.
Oh, look at that extremely tall young woman
out of nowhere.
Right.
That's how it goes. And you're saying that those things still happen, but it's almost like to me, it's almost like the music industry. And I think we were discussing this last week with the music industry. Labels don't want to really put it much work into having to groom you and mold you, and it's too much work for them. They'd rather you just come with a following already. Do you have a fan base?
Yeah.
Have you played, shows before? In this case of modeling, do you have a fan base? Have you walked in any amateur shows before? Do you have a little clothing line? Something to show that you have I'm bringing up the microphone. Something to show that you have a following, because these days, if you don't, you can find ways to get in, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, because now, of course, they have open calls for models.
They do.
All over the world.
They do.
The world of modeling is different, as in they have agencies that will take the girls that are 5'4".
Oh yeah, yes. Which is more realistic.
They will take the girls that are a size 12, a size 14,
which is
16,
normal.
22, which is great.
Yes.
But it actually isn't as accepting as easy, because they are looking for that following, and you have to basically work at your career before it becomes a career.
Paying career. Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
And it complicates it.
It does. And it's sad, because you have some young men, young women, who they can walk a runway. They have a following, they're consistent with what they do, but they just decide to choose someone that may have a reality show, or maybe they're a big YouTube influencer, or who knows what they are.
Yeah. I think the problem is too, everyone is a model in a way now.
Everyone is, yeah. That's true,
the influencer.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone
can
is
get
a model
these roles. Influencers get to wear the clothes too. It's not just reserved for the models that were hired.
That's true.
But people that are even insiders for fashion get the opportunities to do what the models are doing. So the whole career of a model has changed, and the whole face of what that industry looks like has changed.
You know what else has changed too, Carl, real quickly? I've noticed for the past maybe 1 or 2 seasons that, and I know that the girls, the supermodels, they did mention this in their documentary. You might remember it when I say it now. Back to people thinking that the girls were spoiled because, they wanted security, which I don't blame, because photographers should not be going back there to take photos of women changing. Cut it.
Yeah.
Aside from that, people started saying, "Oh, these ladies are so spoiled. They want this, they want that, they want security, they want a car to drive them here and there." So they started to lessen how many times they were using them.
Right.
And I find that in recent shows, before you would always see Gigi Hadid, you'd always see Bella, and it would bring a lot of attention to the show because you want to see them.
Right.
Because they have a fan base, and you do want to see them because they really are good at their job. But now, and it could just be them wanting to step back to do other things, which is also fine. But some labels will purposely say, "You know what? I really don't want to." I don't know. I'll use Kendall Jenner as a example. You know what? I don't want to use any reality stars in the show. I want the focus to be on the clothes, or whatever reason the designer wants to stick to that route. It's up to them. They're allowed to choose whoever they want to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll start to use lesser known models. And I remember in the documentary, they were talking about, the change. Because even back then, when the girls were like at the top of the top, like Naomi, Linda, Cindy, and Christy, they were at the top of the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
they started to say, okay, there's a change coming. They started to get more of the girls that were more very, 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 very skinny. Very
Mm-hmm.
skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, some of them weren't so tall anymore. And this
industry started to change. And Kate Moss came around.
Moss was the new it girl.
Mm-hmm.
Grunge, the grunge era with Nirvana, Offspring, Soundgarden, the form of dressing changed. People weren't dressing up like they used to back in the 80s.
Yeah, the whole kind of glam, Cindy Crawford, bouncy hair wasn't a thing anymore.
It was all of a sudden put to the side, for the shelf for now, or back then for now. And now they were more into, big clothes, and the 70s, like Woodstock era kind of came in, and the industry was changing. And now the it models were people like Agnes. I forget her name. She was a gorgeous English model. She had a cute pixie blonde haircut.
Yeah.
Models like Kate Moss, Giselle Bundchen. She was another like body yachty.
Yeah.
And the modeling industry is always changing.
Yeah, because it's a culture, right? And like music, like everything else, like dancing and everything, it's going to change.
It always changes. And that's what I wanted to say. Because the modeling industry, specifically the modeling industry, because it is always changing, I don't really blame the agent for saying, do you have a following? Because in case this all does collapse, it is good for you to have something.
At least you can go back to your Instagram.
You can go back to your Instagram and say, yo, y'all, I'm selling this fan. Remember the fan I was selling? I'm back with it. Like, I agree. You should always have something to fall back on. Because you can, right?
What we're saying basically is that it is fleeting, like everything. It's fleeting. It's fleeting. These women, the whole point really is that through this documentary, we see how these women have set themselves up that even after the supermodel era is over, they are still out here being able to do what they love and really do it on their own terms because they made the right decisions earlier on. And I think that if you're going to take anything away from this documentary, that is what you'll take away.
I think so.
You're going to take away this idea that, I need to start caring about what I do and make sure I'm showing up for me.
Make sure you're showing up for you. And that's the thing too. Remember to put yourself first. A lot of young girls, they go to the shoot and they get it. You're intimidated because, you're new on the block.
Yeah.
You have this photographer who's setting up, you see the lights, the clothes, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to let anyone else down. But forget them. You have to look about you because these photos are going to end up in your portfolio. So you have to make sure that it's like, this is about me. Yeah. I got to make sure that I am on my top tier. Because if I'm doing my thing right, don't worry about the photographer. They'll do their job right and everyone is happy. That's why it's so important and that's what I love with this documentary. These girls, they really said to themselves, we're gonna do this for us. We're doing this for each other. We're doing this for the women to come, to show that you can be, the elegant model and have that business mindset. That's so important. You need to have that business mindset. And yes, Otis, Careless Whisper, the fashion. George Michael was just, he was smart. He was smart to put those ladies in the Freedom video.
He saw the fireworks. Mm-hmm. He saw the power in having these strong women. R.I.P. Tatiana, who passed away and wasn't able to be, given her flowers now in this documentary. Mm-hmm. But this idea of powerful women coming together and showing up.
Yeah.
That's what it's also about. It's about female friendship. And we can be friends and get along. We don't have to always be, of course they broke up. Oh, of course they're no longer friends. That's what women do. Women backstab. Yeah. And this is showing us that yes, you can be competitive.
You can.
Yes, you can be like, man, I'm going to show her how to walk a runway, but you can still be friends at the end of the day. And that's another theme that I loved to see in this documentary as well.
And that's, Cara, I'm going to ride with you on that. I cannot agree with you more. it always bothers me, especially when women that are in the same industry, when they're at each other's throats. It's like, why are you mad at each other? You're in the same boat. Like, help one another. You're in the same industry. Don't be afraid. Help each other. So yeah, I love their friendship. And after all these years, they're still friends at the end of the day, because that's what it's about. The people that you love, the people that you bring along with you on this journey. These women are a great example of what true friendship is and how to look glamorous at the same time. These women, like, y'all don't understand. You gotta watch the documentary. Just watch it.
Yeah. So we are here basically saying you need to watch this documentary.
Watch it.
If you can get on Apple, watch that. Go hang out with a friend or something that does have Apple and watch it. It is definitely worth the time. We hope that this conversation maybe made you think about some things. I know that watching it for me, it went a lot deeper than fashion.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. You know what, Car? The fashion was just like the surface.
Yeah.
They go, and that was another cool thing with this documentary. Everyone was expecting it to be fashion.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
it
fashion.
It kind of humanized the whole thing. You know?
Yes, it did. And I loved the people they talked to, because, you see how they were going and how their lives were as designers, as fashion insiders, as photographers, and how all that came together. And at the end of the day, they're all just humans just trying to get through this weird thing called modeling. And fashion, which fashion industry can be a tough. It's a brutal industry.
It's a fun industry. It's a great industry, but it is tough.
It has its teeth.
And it does have its teeth. And not everyone is super sweet as we would want them to be.
Exactly. But when you have friendships like these ladies do, I have that, especially back then, they made it clear that they can make it through anything because of the friendships they formed with each other and with their colleagues.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. We are the Her Castle Girls. This is It's All Connected by Her Castle Girls. This recording will be available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have the best week. We've got a video coming out on YouTube tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time.
That's right.
Tomorrow, Friday. So definitely go ahead and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube so you don't miss a beat from us. Thank you so much for joining us. We love it when you join us, and we love the conversations that we have that we get to share with you, because we think, it shouldn't just be just the two of us talking all the time.
Always talking about fashion.
We want to share what we know, what we think, and we thank you so much for watching. So we'll see you all next week. Have the best one, and love you all.
Next time, everyone.
Till next time.
Take care. Keep fit. Have fun.
Oh no.
Listen. We're gonna keep fit. We're gonna have fun. Join us next week. Tomorrow, as Christy said, 3 o'clock. We're gonna have a fashion review. And trust us, you don't want to miss it. It's we got some questions and we need answers. And maybe you guys can help us find those answers. I'm still very confused, but it will all make sense when you see the video tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Gonna dance it out.